My name is Kevin Barr.
I'm Ronnie LaPaglia.
And my name is Syed Mohsen, and we are going to talk about what happened to the American automobile industry. Henry Ford sold his first vehicle in 1903. It was one of the greatest American inventions. It had an impact on the way people lived and traveled. It also triggered the development of highways and creation of suburbs. Interestingly, at the peak of American car industry nearly 40 years ago, 9 of 10 cars on the road were built in Detroit. However, over the past several decades, that number has significantly fallen. As of 2003, 4 of 10 vehicles on the road were foreign-made. GM, for the longest time, had a slogan, "A car for every purpose and purse." The idea behind the slogan is that a buyer of modest means would purchase a less expensive car and move up to a higher-end vehicle as their financial situation improved. One of the issues we found with the American car makers was that most executives were mainly financial people who paid little attention to quality and innovation. Foreign executives, on the other hand, focused more on design and innovation and less about finances. They mainly focused on producing better cars. They also put experienced engineering people with better engineering experiences in managerial positions.
Okay, we're going to break the progression of the American automobile industry into 3 distinct eras. The first is from 1955 to about 1980. Now in 1955, United States automakers had about a 94% market share, which means that 94 out of every 100 vehicles that you saw on the road were American made. Now most of these were larger sedans and other sorts of vehicles because there really wasn't much of a demand for any sort of smaller vehicle. You know, the roads were much wider and there wasn't a need. Now in 1957 we had a recession here in the United States, and it brought on a demand for some smaller vehicles, more fuel efficient and cheaper. Now with the United States not producing any of these types of vehicles, essentially they were forced to seek out foreign automakers to import vehicles. Now by the late 1950s, the market share for foreign automobiles was about 10%. So they had taken, about 5% in those few years, and we're starting to whittle away at the profits of the American automakers. Now as a response to that, the American automakers began to start building some smaller vehicles. This actually was a very popular thing. I think at this point in time people really wanted to buy American. They wanted to keep it in the country, so to speak. So they started to whittle away at the foreign market share. Now as time went on, these cars began getting a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger, and essentially they were no longer in the small car category after about 5 or 10 years. So again, market share starts increasing for the foreign automobiles. Now when they see this happening, the United States starts to again come out with another line of small compact cars, but they have the same exact problem. The cars keep getting continuously bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually you can't even call them small cars anymore. Now this became a problem because in the late 1970s there was a severe oil crisis, which caused the price of gasoline to essentially skyrocket. I believe it was up about 30% at one point. So foreign cars again are in demand. They have small vehicles, they're more fuel efficient, and people want to save money. So essentially they start moving to these foreign cars. As time goes on and more market share is taken by the foreign car makers, consumers start to realize that these cars are actually better vehicles than what the United States has been producing. So it further hinders the profits and the expansion of the American automobile industry. Now after the recession is over, about 1980, we move into the second era, is what we're calling it. Sales are going up all across the board. Gas prices are down, profits are high. The American companies are back in the black essentially, and so the car makers start to get greedy. They start spending all their profits on mergers and acquisitions and new pet projects that they think are going to help them out, but they really end up just losing focus on the ultimate goal, which is creating a quality, innovative product that people will want to purchase. So, in fact, GM actually turns to, at this point, turns to automation. They essentially try to automate every aspect of the car building process that they're able to. Now, what this ends up doing is it costs them a lot of money, and they really lose touch with what they're trying to do. In fact, in the mid to late 1980s, GM was actually last in terms of quality, efficiency, and product design in the entire industry all across the world. So, mid-80s, gas is down again. People are starting to want larger cars, and this is where the American automakers really take advantage. They come out with the invention of the light truck, is what they're calling it. Essentially what this is your minivans, your SUVs, things of that nature. So profits are really high again. They're selling like crazy. The foreign car makers actually decide to get into this business as well, and they start producing some of these light trucks. Everybody's making money. Everyone's happy. Unfortunately, in 2007, late 2007, another recession hits. Gas prices skyrocket again. I'm sure all you guys experienced this. It was so recent. But again, consumers are wanting small cars. And unfortunately, as was the case in the past, the American automakers aren't able to react quickly enough, produce enough vehicles, and they're not able to sustain the demand for small cars. So again, foreign car makers take full advantage. They come in and they start selling like crazy. Unfortunately, as we all know, the recession worsened in 2008, and it got so bad that consumer confidence fell to an all-time low in history. So essentially, nobody was selling cars at this point. There was financing was almost impossible, and car sales just plummeted. So GM and Chrysler actually required assistance from the federal government in late 2008 to the tune of about $25 billion, which essentially caused them to close numerous plants and lay off thousands and thousands of employees. I believe the inflation, oh shit, all right, copy there. GM and Chrysler actually required over $25 billion. GM and Chrysler actually required over $25 billion in federal assistance, which caused them to have to close down numerous plants and lay off thousands and thousands of employees. In fact, the unemployment rate in Detroit actually rose to 15% at this time, which is astronomical.
Now we have 3 recommendations for the American car industry. First, American car companies need to work on increasing the quality of their vehicles. They need to bring their vehicles into line with the quality that is produced by their foreign competitors. A good goal for American manufacturers would be to create a car that is as good 5 years from now as the day it is purchased. Also, American car companies need to avoid recalls on the vehicles that they are producing. In 2003 and 2004, GM recalled 7.5 million vehicles that cost the company $200 million. Recalls like this can not be a regular part of American manufacturing because of the effects that it has on the bottom line. Secondly, with the increase in fuel prices, American car companies need to acknowledge the fact that there is an increasing market for hybrid technology. Foreign companies such as Toyota and Honda have invested millions of dollars in research and development on this technology. American companies need to work to develop vehicles that are American-made that can help meet the demand in the American market. Finally, American manufacturers need to only produce profitable brands and models. They do not need to continue to pump money into vehicles that are not selling. Instead, they need to spend this money on research and development and innovation for the brands and models that are selling. Even after these brand and model cuts, there will still be plenty of vehicles out there for the American consumer to choose from.